Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this today, because we're going to explore a framework that fundamentally shifts how we solve our toughest, most deeply rooted problems. Think about it. How much time, energy, and just emotional bandwidth do we waste arguing, whether it's at work, in politics, or literally in our own living rooms? Well, based on the groundbreaking work of Stephen R. Covey in his book, The Third Alternative, we are going to break down how to finally move past those frustrating, traditional battles of opposing sides. And look, this isn't just some guide on how to negotiate a polite middle ground. No, this is about a total paradigm shift that helps you discover a completely new, infinitely better path forward.
So think about the conflicts in your life right now. Are you stuck in the exhausting trap of my way versus your way? It's a great question to ask yourself. Hold a mirror up to your daily frustrations. Like, how often do you find yourself locked in this binary conflict where it feels like for you to win, someone else absolutely has to lose? It's the classic zero-sum game, right? Whether it's a tense disagreement at work over a project's direction, some seemingly endless political debate, or even just a fiery argument at the dinner table, we are deeply conditioned by our culture to see problems as having only two sides. It becomes this exhausting tug of war that drains us, and honestly, it rarely solves the actual underlying issue.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the two alternative trap. Then, what is the third alternative? Next, 4 steps to synergy. After that, rules for creating alternatives. And finally, applying the paradigm.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the two alternative trap.
You know, almost everyone naturally aligns with one alternative or the other. It immediately becomes my team against your team, doesn't it? We have liberals against conservatives, management against labor, environmentalists against developers. And what happens here is that each of these two alternatives becomes deeply, stubbornly rooted in a specific mindset. Let's flesh out the environmentalist and the developer, for example. The environmentalist looks at a plot of land and sees this fragile, intricate ecosystem that absolutely must be protected. The developer, looking at the exact same plot of land, sees thriving families, affordable housing, and a booming local economy. Now, both are striving for fundamentally good things. But then the trap snaps shut. The environmentalist starts to view the developer as this greedy villain who actively hates nature, while the developer views the environmentalist as an out-of-touch idealist trying to bankrupt the community. Each side sees itself as completely virtuous and rational, while viewing the other as entirely lacking in common sense or morals. So what do? We retreat to our echo chambers, we dig our trenches, and the real problem just sits there completely unsolved. Moving right along to Section 2. What is the third alternative?
To understand this, we have to look at how we normally operate. We typically experience conflict as a horizontal clash. You have my way, which is the first alternative, aggressively pushing against your way, the second alternative, just back and forth, seemingly forever. But instead of remaining stuck on that flat plane of resistance, imagine those forces shifting and moving upward, coming together at an apex. By synergizing, we move to a third alternative, which is our way. It is a higher, better way to resolve the conflict that neither party had ever even conceived of before stepping into the room. It's not your way, and actually, it's not my way either. It's a completely new, elevated solution that transforms the entire landscape of the dispute. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the chasm between compromise and synergy. We've actually been taught by society to celebrate a compromise, which is basically a situation where everyone walks away equally unhappy as a massive win. But if you really think about it, that's incredibly depressing. Compromise means everyone loses something. Everyone gives up a piece of their core vision just to force an agreement. And because of that, resentment almost always lingers right beneath the surface. Synergy, on the other hand, that is a fundamental breakthrough. It's a quantum leap forward where the new alternative completely overtakes the old assumptions. In true synergy, everyone wins because you've created a solution that meets everyone's ultimate foundational criteria for success without asking anyone to settle for less. Which brings us to Section 3, 4 steps to synergy.
Getting to a third alternative is not an accident, and it's certainly not just a lucky guess. It is a highly deliberate, structured journey. The process maps out cleanly into 4 consecutive steps. First, you ask the question. This requires the humility to genuinely look for something better than your own brilliant idea. Second, you define criteria of success together. Third, you create third alternatives through fearless experimentation. And fourth, you finally arrive at synergy. Now, the heavy lifting really happens in the middle, so let's examine that critical second step a little closer. Before you can ever begin creating a solution, you really have to ask what a successful outcome actually looks like for all parties involved. You need to involve everyone in setting these parameters. What is the real core job to be done here? The profound psychological challenge is looking past entrenched demands. Think about your last major argument for a second. Were you really arguing for what you deeply needed, or were you just stubbornly defending your opening bid? It happens all the time. We so often argue for positions, not needs. You have to stop focusing on what people say they want and dig all the way down into the fundamental human needs of everyone involved. It's only once everyone feels deeply understood and is completely satisfied with the foundational criteria that you are finally ready to start creating. Let's move to section 4 and see how this builds. Rules for creating alternatives. During this brainstorming phase, the energy needs to be rapid, highly creative, and entirely non-judgmental. You need to play at it. Treat it almost like a game where absolutely nothing is locked in and there is zero stakes yet. You must aggressively avoid premature closure or that sudden rush to reach a safe consensus. And above all, you must avoid judging any ideas, whether they're yours or anyone else's, because that instantly kills psychological safety in the room. Make models, draw terribly on whiteboards, and purposefully turn conventional wisdom completely on its head. Work fast to keep the energy flowing and breed as many ideas as humanly possible. Because let's be honest, the very best, most innovative ideas usually sound completely ridiculous at first. You simply cannot predict which offhand, crazy insight might suddenly spark that perfect third alternative.
All right, the final piece of the puzzle, section 5, applying the paradigm.
Imagine the visceral tension of a high-stakes courtroom. It is often the ultimate expression of two-alternative, zero-sum, win-or-lose thinking. But through alternative dispute resolution and mediation, forward-thinking lawyers and judges are completely transforming this. Instead of a brutal winner-takes-all battle that leaves both parties financially and emotionally drained, a mediator steps in and shifts the energy. They treat the dispute almost like an architectural design problem. The opposing parties are guided to explicitly list their criteria of success and failure, and then they methodically draft prototypes for a settlement. They might go through 3, 4, or even 5 drafts, analyzing the pros and cons, effectively turning a hostile, combative battle into a cooperative, creative process to build a robust third alternative settlement.
Now, what's really interesting is how this exact same framework scales out to the entire community. When we look at our society, we face massive disintegrating forces, things like crime, disease, poverty, and environmental degradation. Imagine a city fiercely divided over a new industrial complex. You have one side absolutely terrified of environmental ruin, and the other desperate for job creation to save a dying local economy. By applying third alternative thinking, communities can move past these wearisome, worsening quarrels. Instead of endless political gridlock and public protests, diverse groups can actually come together to find a criteria for a healthy community and prototype solutions that integrate industry and green spaces in ways literally no one had previously imagined. It moves everyone upward together. So let's bring it right back down to the individual. Where in your life have you settled for a weary, exhausting compromise? Maybe it's in your marriage or in a strained relationship with a teenager. A true third alternative thinker realizes that no matter their age or position, they are never finished contributing. It is the very nature of this mindset to always be seeking something higher and better. There are challenges everywhere in our daily lives that require the creative, calming influence of a synergist. Whether that's building deeply connected relationships, strengthening your family unit, or creating great collaborative works in your career. Let go of needing always to be right. Your grasp on reality is always partial anyway. Think about that for a second. If you stubbornly hold on to your pride in your next conflict, you're going to completely miss out on the incredible breakthroughs and creative solutions that true synergy offers. So the next time you feel that familiar friction, the next time you feel your heels digging into the dirt, ask yourself a really simple question. Are you willing to give up being right to discover something truly extraordinary? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. I genuinely hope you start relentlessly searching for that third alternative in your own life.